The NBA today can't be totally compared to any era in recent history. The Superteam era is not only hurting the league, but it is destroying the NBA. Sometimes we have much higher expectations from our favorite team, and they actually end up being a huge disaster. Regardless of how good and dominant a player might be, no one can win on their own in this league. It's just impossible, as there are hundreds of factors that can take place on any given night in the NBA. Welcome to Everything Sports. In this video, you're going to find out the worst super team in the NBA. Make sure you stay until the end because we have the absolute worst team at the #1 spot and you do not want to miss out. First of all, super teams have always existed in the NBA, but they are not considered good for the league as they are ruining the competitiveness in the league. Super teams are made by putting up hard work, planning, and co-working on the team's smartness and executing them during the game. Well, some teams were titled as super teams but have failed in proving that. Is it because they were considered as super teams way too early, or did they become so comfortable on their own after getting titled as a super team that they forgot to perform like ones? Let's find out. Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks finished their 2006-2007 season in disappointing fashion in the first round. But what was the biggest disappointment that season? The roster included superstars like Dirk Nowitzki, Jason Terry, and Josh Howard. Along with Anthony Johnson and Jerry Stackhouse, the team had the best firepower which a team needs to be a super team. The team finished the 2006-2007 NBA season with a record of 67-15, which was their best record in franchise history. Besides that, Nowitzki was named the NBA MVP that year, so all was going great for the Mavs as they clinched the first seed in the Western Conference. A team that performs so good does not usually fall down and create a mess, but the Mavs made this happen as well. They lost the first round of the playoffs to the Golden State Warriors 2-4. When the postseason started, the Dallas Mavericks faced the 8th-seeded Golden State Warriors, which had a weak lineup and somehow made it to the playoffs. The Mavericks were like giants in front of the Warriors. Mavericks head coach Avery Jackson decided to take out Eric Dampier after looking at the undersized Warriors, which was the worst move by him. Don't you agree with us? And of course, the Warriors made the best of this opportunity and won the first game. Well, all predictable. The Warriors then slowly improved their momentum and were able to disturb the balance of the Mavs by keeping Nowitzki's mojo out of the game with the help of tight defense, and the Mavericks could not come out of the Warriors' defensive shield to win the series. Their dream season actually came to an end. But it wasn't all that unbelievable after their actions, right? Miami Heat. The Miami Heat is no exception at being wonderful and awful at the same time. The team went on to build a super team when they added LeBron James and Chris Bosh to their roster. Many people had high expectations from this team and even considered them as a super team. And at some point, they were a super team. Could anyone forget the day of July 8th, 2010, when James held an hour-long special show on ESPN where he announced that he is taking his talent to Miami? Some even expected that the Heat would break the 72-10 record of the Bulls, but the Heat started the season with a record of 9-8, which troubled everyone who had faith in them. They worked on the team's performance and came out of a losing streak to set a 12-game winning streak. They finished the season 58-24 and were the second seed in the Eastern Conference. The Miami Heat had kind of a breeze up to the Eastern Conference Finals as they dismissed every team they faced by a record of 4-1. By looking at the Western Conference winners, it was pretty clear that the Heat had the best nuclear power an NBA team could ever have. But this did not happen as expected. The Mavericks, or the underdogs, crushed the championship dream of the Heat team, and the Heat failed as a superstar. But before we continue, make sure you subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to turn on your post notifications so you never miss a video from us. Keep watching the video not to be behind on the great news. Brooklyn Nets. The 2013-14 Brooklyn Nets team featured future Hall of Famers Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, as well as NBA All-Stars like Deron Williams and Joe Johnson. The Nets team had Jason Kidd as their head coach, and when we see a team that is equipped with that much talent and skill, we pick them as the championship contenders. But the 2013-14 Brooklyn Nets team could not keep up the faith people had on the team. The Nets ended the season 44-38 and stood at 6th place in the Eastern Conference at the end of the regular season. It was suspected after analyzing the standings chart that the Brooklyn Nets would face the Toronto Raptors in the first round in the 2014 NBA playoffs. The Nets somehow tackled the young Raptors team, took the round to Game 7, and Paul Pierce's block against Kyle Lowry helped the Nets clinch the series, and they progressed to the second round. In the Eastern Conference semifinals, the Nets faced the Miami Heat, the team which had elites like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. The Heat beat the Nets team by 4-1. So the Nets team, which was seen as a championship prospect, could not even go to the conference finals. The Nets team, even after having Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, relied more on Brook Lopez at the defensive end, while they were confused at the offensive end as to who should run it. Lopez led the entire team and averaged 20.7 points, 6 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks per game during the season. He went through some nagging leg injuries, which slowed down the team's momentum, and they couldn't figure out the force which could help the team succeed. Deron Williams and Joe Johnson had a majority of their game in isolation while the team was looking for Lopez to come back. This made the team a mess, and they failed. They failed and got included in our ashamed list. Well, what can we do? Orlando Magic. The 1994-95 Orlando Magic is another super team that disappointed their fans. Before the season, Shaquille O'Neal was already dominating the floor for the Magic, and during the offseason, they added stars like Horace Grant and Brian Shaw to their roster. They finished first in the Eastern Conference, and in the playoffs, they even defeated the Chicago Bulls and went to the NBA Finals. But in the finals, they got swept by the Houston Rockets, who were the 6th seed in the Western Conference. The first game was very close to the Orlando Magic, as they almost emerged with a win, but due to 4 consecutive missed free throws by Nick Anderson, the game bent towards Houston. The Magic then could not recover from that, and the Rockets swept them in 4 games. Some even say that one of the main reasons why this team always seems to struggle is because of the fact that they give up on their good players too quickly, as they trade them away as soon as they have the chance to, and it looks like they're going through a never-ending rebuilding process. How would they actually fare if they decided to keep their players instead? Truth be told, other than Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway, Tracy McGrady, and Dwight Howard, they have not had many superstars to brag about. What do you think? Los Angeles Lakers, aka the worst super team in the NBA. Now it's time to talk about the worst super team in the NBA that seems to be the Los Angeles Lakers. Hard to agree, hard to disagree, but that's the reality in front of us. Do you remember that all the starting 5 of the 2012-2013 Los Angeles Lakers were all-stars? Like Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, Paul Gasol, Metta World Peace, and Dwight Howard. Everyone considered the Lakers as the 2013 NBA championship contenders and believed that they could break many records as well. The season started and the Lakers stumbled to a lowly 1-4 record. They made several changes to their coaching staff, but still, they had a record of 15-21. The Dream Team was actually falling apart. They had many ups and downs during the regular season, and they somehow qualified for the playoffs. A team which was seen as a championship contender struggled throughout the regular season to reach the playoffs. In the first round of the playoffs, they were against the San Antonio Spurs and got swept by them with an 0-4 series record. A super team dream came to an end before it even started. No team, which had 5 All-Stars in their roster, ever fell so hard. Well, that sounds pretty shameful, right? The Lakers started the season with Mike Brown as their head coach. After a record of 1-4, they fired Brown and hired Mike D'Antoni as their head coach. The changes they made to their coaching disturbed their playing style. They implemented multiple offensive and defensive strategies, but they struggled in each of those. Bryant's late regular season injury, poor teamwork, and coordination issues made a huge impact on their game, and the 2012-2013 Los Angeles Lakers became one of the most disappointing teams in NBA history. How can they be super amazing and super shameful at the same time? Isn't the list too shameful? Which is your favorite NBA team? Let us know in the comments down below. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.